Thank you for calling. All of our agents are currently busy, or it is after business hours. Please leave a message after the tone, and one of our support representatives will return your call as soon as possible.
Yeah, sugar, I'm just asking for a friend, but does cyanide come in any flavor other than almond?
Oh, hello. I'm asking for a friend, but does your phone insurance cover sharks?
Just asking for a friend. Can you tell me what wine pairs well with possum?
Oh, yes. Hello. I was just wondering, on behalf of a friend, of course, what wash cycle does one use to clean rubber lingerie?
Asking for a friend. Do you use brush or blade side of ice scraper to get hobo out of wheel well of F-150?
Quick question for a friend. Definitely not an emergency, but is aspartame supposed to be flammable?
Yeah, so, I was just wondering, not for me, but, for a friend, but is strawberry lube a carb or a protein?
Yeah, mate. Asking for a friend. What's the best way to get blood out of Legos?
My definitely not famous friend needs to know. Do you need to hire a lawyer to trademark your penis?
Recorded in Round Rock, Texas, in front of a live teleconferenced audience, it's the What's Update with Xander IMDb.
Season 2.5, staying alive, baby.
Hey! Welcome to the What's Update. I'm Xander IMDb. Let's get started. So it's been about a month and a half since we last saw you. How you been? You're looking good. Rested even. And hey, did you lose weight?
No.
Looks like you dropped around 239 pounds if I'm looking at it. Well, more like 350 if we're being honest.
Nah.
Man, you take time off and all hell breaks loose. Let me explain. No. There's too much. Let me sum it up.
Buttercup is Mary Humperdinck in a little less than half an hour.
Wait. Wrong summation. Okay, now I got it. In November, we had an election to decide our nation's direction. People put on their coats, stood in lines to cast votes for Biden or just Trump's ejection. The people, they made their selection for a leader of less orange complexion, tired of Trump's screed on his lame Twitter feed and his endless, baseless projection. But Trump didn't like this rejection, so he plotted to cause insurrection by tweeting his lies to gun-toting guys, worried about their erection. Now the country's on a course correction. Joe's appointments, a diverse cross-section. Biden signed lots of orders, stopped the walls on our borders, and bought meds to fight the infection. And because I've been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima lately, a haiku. Boy, these crazy times. Cooped up, stressed out, watching news. Wear a mask, dammit.
Yep.
In honor of the endless catastrophe that was 2020, it's looking like the beginning of 2021 is trying to keep that disaster porn trend rolling. First, it took from November 3rd until December 14th to get confirmation that the election was, in fact, being certified by the Electoral College for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Then, on January 6th, a routine function of governance turned into a full-scale case of armed insurrection against the United States government. 5 people died or were fatally injured during the attack. Among the deceased was 1 Capitol Police officer and 4 of the mutineers. In addition, nearly 140 Capitol Police and 58 DC Metro Police officers were injured. So much for Blue Lives Matter, am I right? Traitors? Inciting the fiasco, to the surprise of no one, was Mango Mussolini himself and his hench tools, Rudy and Giuliani, and Donald Please Love Me Best Daddy Jr. Not to be outdone, at the Capitol, Senators Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley stirred up a hornet's nest, then ran like scared little bunnies when those chickens came home to roost. Sorry about the mixed metaphors. Oh, by the way, why did the chickens cross the road?
Why did the chicken cross the road?
To deliver a history-making second impeachment of a U.S. president 1 week before his term ended. In a triumph of iron will and sheer dogged determination, the wheels of democracy kept turning, in spite of the caltrops launched at the tires by Republican members of Congress. The responsibly coordinated inauguration was nothing less than beautiful. The solemnly hopeful event was accentuated by soaring music performances, heart-rending calls to action, and the inspirational poetry of Miss Amanda Gorman, the youngest poet laureate ever to read at a presidential inauguration.
Woo! Yeah!
Now, anybody else might have taken the day off to enjoy the food and festivities. Hell, the previous schmuck sure did. But not our Uncle Joe. He zhuzhed up his sleeves and he got to work. Come on, Jack. We got places to go, people to see, and things to do.
Woo!
You'll be seeing a lot more of that in the future. And can we talk a moment about Vice President Kamala and Second Mensch Doug? The Harris Emhoff family is the walking embodiment of the United Colors of Benetton. Also, could Kamala's two great-nieces, 4-year-old Amara and 2-year-old Leela, be any more adorable? I don't think so. Now, it is going to take a while for the dust to settle. There's still a lot of messes to clean up. And, well, we're not just talking about getting bronzer out of the upholstery in the Oval Office. The second Senate trial of He Who Shall No Longer Be Directly Named, and the lingering question of whether Moscow Mitch is going to remember that he is Senate Minority Leader are still great big unknowns. There's been a lot of chatter from bloviating pundits, useless talking heads, and washed-up wannabes about how late-night hosts, such as myself, are going to manage to be funny now that the Orange Menace is out of office, exiled to Florida, and permanently banned from Twitter. I say there is still plenty of stupid to go around, and we'll continue to follow the treasonous exploits of Cara de Rata Cruz and Josh Butthead Hawley. We'll hold Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Schumer's feet to the fire as well. And we'll keep an eye on Malfeasance Mitch, bringing you the latest on all things Dolly Parton, and correspondent Craigstapodal Scales will join us once again for Reptile Roundup.
Yeah!
Hey, Bridget, do we have time left to do some jokes?
Why should we start now?
Ha ha, you're not funny.
It takes one to know one, dingus.
Jog on.
Huh.
Alright then, let's do some news.
Yeah!
Archaeologists unearthed an ancient snack bar while excavating the buried city of Pompeii. The snack bar, or Thermopylaeum, was buried under ash by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE. The scientists found such popular Roman street food as wine turned white with crushed fava beans, and a soupy concoction of snails, sheep, and fish, along with a venti no foam double mocha latte for Jewy seizure. General Motors has announced that they will manufacture only electric cars and will sell only zero-emissions vehicles by 2035. In response, Ford has announced that, by 2030, their King Ranch F-150s will run on a mixture of endangered species and orphan tears, and will loudly fart asbestos. Federal health officials recently said that evidence indicates that schools can be safe from the rapid spread of the coronavirus if precautions are taken on campus and in the community. The CDC said that sports activities are not advised, but classroom activities are reasonably safe as long as schools maintain social distancing and mask-wearing precautions. It's sure gonna make picture day awkward, but the kid with the acne is loving it.
Yep.
Before being elected to Congress, Representative and QAmom Marjorie Taylor Greene repeatedly indicated her support for executing prominent Democrats, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Green, a Republican, shocked. I am absolutely shocked. I could die from surprise. Who now represents Georgia's 14th district, frequently posted far-right extremist and debunked conspiracy theories on her Facebook page, and was filmed harassing Parkland school shooting survivor David Hogg. So, of course, the Republicans assigned her to the House Education Committee. What's next? Charles Manson as the new marching band director? The Department of Homeland Security warned that extremists, emboldened by the Capitol insurrection, still pose a growing threat. The warning was notable for being a departure for a department often accused during the Trump administration of being reluctant to publish warnings about the dangers posed by white supremacist groups and other extremists. In response, the DHS said, well, we didn't think white people would do that.
Nah.
2 pipe bombs were discovered in Washington, D.C. just before the Trump insurrection. The bombs were planted at the headquarters of both the Republican National Committee and the Democratic National Committee, possibly to draw police away from the Capitol. You know, what Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley would call pipe partisanship. 45 Republican senators voted to dismiss the new impeachment charges against Donald Trump, arguing that the Senate cannot try a former president. As 17 Republicans would need to side with Democrats against Trump, it's a sign that conviction is unlikely. In January, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell circulated a memo to his Republican colleagues on how to use Senate procedures to drag out impeachment hearings. It's that old GOP slogan, slow and steady, master race. After completing his first full week in office, credible evidence is mounting that President Joseph R. Biden Jr. has engaged in acts of extremely appropriate behavior. His performance since taking the oath of office on January 20th is being described as... Wait a second.
Presidential.
Oh. Is that still a thing?
Apparently.
I haven't heard that phrase since the before 4 times. It brings tears to my eyes. And scene. In their first phone call as fellow presidents, Biden and Vladimir Putin agreed to extend the last remaining nuclear arms treaty between their countries. But Biden also confronted Putin on several topics, including Russian election interference. It was a surprise for Putin, as he's used to having his ass kissed, rather than having it handed to him.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. We'll be right back. Stick around.
Woo! 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 Yeah! Woo!
Welcome back, everybody. Acting, dramatizing, performing, portraying, pretending, call it what you will, but the art, profession, or activity of those who perform in stage plays, motion pictures, or other activities is a profession with a long and storied history. In 534 BCE, the Greek performer Thespis stepped onto the stage at the Theater Dionysus to become the first known person to speak words as a character in a play or story. The Greeks had obviously never been to a Passover Seder during the Haggadah, but that's not what's important right now. What is important is that, historically, actors did not have high-status positions in their respective societies. From the early Middle Ages through the Dark Ages, actors were denounced by the Church, which saw them as dangerous, immoral, and, worst of all, pagan. Women were prohibited from public performances well into the 17th and 18th centuries. In order to shield female virtue from the indignities of sexual wantonness, prostitution, debauchery, and indecency, the great female roles like Beatrice, Juliet, Antigone, and Medea were mansplained by dudes in drag. So, here's the thing. When you boil it all down, acting as a profession is paid pretending. You hit your mark and you speak your truth. as someone else. Ron Perlman wasn't a 7-foot-tall demon from hell. Kate Blanchett was not Bob Dylan. Robin Williams was not an elderly English nanny, and Chris Hemsworth isn't a Norse god. Pretty close, but not quite. They're actors playing a part. Now, casting decisions haven't always been sensitive to appropriate representation. There are some historically clear cases of whitewashing in film. In 1944, Katharine Hepburn played a Chinese woman in Dragon Seed. In 1956, John Wayne played Genghis Khan in The Conqueror. In 1961, Mickey Rooney perpetrated the grossest of Asian stereotypes in Breakfast at Tiffany's. This phenomenon is not just a problem of Hollywood's past. In 1986, Fisher Stevens played an over-the-top Indian character in Short Circuit. In 1997, Will Ferrell played an Arab henchman and wore brownface in Austin Powers. In Christopher Nolan's 2005 Batman Begins, Liam Neeson played Ra's al Ghul, who in the comic books was portrayed as Middle Eastern or East Asian. As recently as 2017, the US live-action adaptation of the Japanese Ghost in the Shell featured several white actors, including Scarlett Johansson, in the roles of Japanese animated characters. And that is just the whitewashing. We don't have time to get to all the cases of straightwashing or ageism. Lately, rightfully so, there has been a loud call for more representation in media. People are demanding to see themselves represented on screens. On this point, I wholeheartedly agree. There need to be more people of color, more LGBTQ+ performers, and more persons with disabilities hired in front of and behind the camera. Now, clearly, these are no-nonsense, easy-to-make decisions. Gross stereotypes and giving white actors roles intended for people of color are ridiculous in this day and age. But where do we draw the line on this topic? There is an increasing din of voices pushing for more than just representation. There's a movement that seeks to cancel productions that do not cast actors to specifically mirror the role. Let's imagine for a moment that the entertainment industry acquiesces to these demands. It is all perfectly and precisely cast to the character. Is the character gay, trans, lesbian, or bisexual? Advocates of the representative casting have proposed that only LGBTQ+ actors should play non-heteronormative characters. Gay men play gay men. Cool. Is the person Asian, African, Indigenous, or Hispanic? Characters of color should only be played by actors of the exact same race or national origin. Only Asian actors may play Asian characters. Super cool. Is the character physically or mentally disabled? Then the part cannot go to an able-bodied person. Only deaf actors get roles written for deaf characters. Agreed. But where does this end? How far must it go for accuracy? I'm sorry, Korean actor John Cho, you cannot play Hikaru Sulu any longer because he is Japanese. Too bad, Hilary Swank. You have to give back your Oscar for being a cis-hetero woman playing a trans man. While we are giving back Oscars, able-bodied Eddie Redmayne can fork over his statue for playing Stephen Hawking, who spent his adult life dealing with the ravages of ALS. Now, bear with me for a moment as I get a bit absurd. By that same metric, then there can be no more films with aliens, unless Area 51 has got a really good theater program for extraterrestrials. Unless somebody has a direct line to Asgard, Chris Hemsworth is going to be out of a job. Shame. Somebody needs an imagination, an ancient map, and a time machine, otherwise the denizens of Middle-earth will go unrepresented in film and your local Ren Fair. But Xander, I can hear you projecting from the diaphragm. Those are completely fictional characters. They aren't real. There are no elves or superheroes or aliens. It is fiction. Be reasonable. And you know what, fictional person? You are correct. Actors play these roles. They pretend to be whatever it is they're trying to make you believe they are. 21-time Academy Award nominee and 3-time winner, Ms. Meryl Streep, once said, "Acting is not about being someone different. It's finding the similarity in what is apparently different, then finding myself in there. I firmly agree that every effort should always be made to cast people that most closely fit their character's traits. However, if we accept that acting is an art, then it is unreasonable to expect artists to only paint in the style they were born with. I will say, though, if I never see another British Superman again, it will be too soon.
Word.
But here's the real thing. The issue with this recent movement is that they seem to have forgotten that the entertainment industry is, unfortunately, still dominated by wealthy white men. Now, yes, I see the irony here, but I'm not remotely successful enough yet to be a hypocrite.
Nah.
In any case, producers, writers, directors, casting directors, agents, you name it, the media industry is up to their tits in Brian's and Kevin's. In a perfect world, it wouldn't just be white men in charge. However, if this line of reasoning persists to the furthest degree, it can potentially cause more harm than good. Imagine, if you will, being a high-powered, white, hetero male film and TV producer. You are choosing your next project. You have locked in, let's pick some unknown actors. We'll call them, Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. Industry trends say these two crazy newcomers just might draw in a big audience and create some buzz. You have two scripts on your desk for the next potential project. One is a sexy spy thriller about a dashing young trans-Persian man and a hot, mature Kenyan woman trying to bring down the Yakuza from within. The other is a superhero rom-com about an awkward British cyborg and a mysterious sorceress from an exotic, nondescript Eastern European country who can't maintain a consistent accent because of magic? I feel like I'm getting off topic here. So let's get back to the point. In this perfect world, where every role is cast only with actors that precisely correspond to the gender, race, ability level, and sexual identity of the character being portrayed, the sexy, diverse, action-packed spy thriller could never get made. It's not unreasonable for audiences to insist that the entertainment industry pay heed to the changing demographics of the modern world. It is, however, irrational to expect the wealthy men in charge of everything to get woke overnight out of the goodness of their inky black hearts. We need more creators like Tyler Perry, Spike Lee, Shonda Rhimes, Taika Waititi, John Chu, Ryan Coogler, and Bill Condon. Long-term systemic change starts with everyone voting with their heads, their hearts, and most importantly, their wallets. Once the industry gets that change from the top, it'll become much more possible and effective to be able to get the closest cast the representation that they deserve. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Our guest today is someone that helped fill my childhood with laughter and joy. So we'll start with our standard question. Who you, what's due, and why?
Yo, that's too many questions, bro. Waffles, 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 waffles. That's all you get. Waffles! And this is Wingman G. The most important person in the room is always my son, my guru, Planet Wingman G. Cipes. The real life beast boy.
Right.
So what's in it?
So for those of you keeping track at home, this is Greg Cipes, a voice actor. Sorry, we don't usually get such creative answers. So Greg Cipes, a famous voice actor, and why and how exactly did you get into voice acting, Mr. Cipes?
I've been acting forever, since I was born, and probably before that. I feel like it's a deeper alignment. I think it's a very rare situation to be able to be in the position I am in as an actor, to be able to play at the levels I get to play in, and to also connect with people like you and the people watching, to get a message out through art. I started in musical theater, which I've never given up. I love musical theater. I love musicals. I love theater. I've done a lot of theater, but I segued into television and movies and cartoons when I moved to Hollywood. And now I'm definitely like the Hollywood hippie. I've turned into the Hollywood hippie. Yeah, because I've made millions of dollars in Hollywood, and all I really want to do is keep making more cartoons and movies and art. But I want to be. I always want my dog in my hand, and I want fresh, organic, vegan food, and I want crystal healing and massages and all the great hippie things that make us feel so good all the time. So I've become this Hollywood hippie character in real life, which for me, a lot of the movies that I've been in over time and TV shows have always been a version of who I am. So now it's I'm just being who I am.
All right. So for musical theater, is there any role that you had loved playing, or is there any role that you'd really like to play?
Well, I feel like I would like the shot at playing Mickey Mouse. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Like the cool Mickey Mouse, you know what I'm saying? Come over to my pad and chill, bro.
It could be Hippie Mouse.
Yeah, Hippie Mouse. Dude, nice. I knew I should get on the call with you all today. That's great.
Oh, this is gonna be a fun one. So, is there anything you're working on right now that you'd like to tell our audience about?
I'm making a lot of cartoons, a lot of my own cartoons with people that I love, a lot of my friends and new friends and artists and animators. I'm just making a lot of cool stuff and live action comedies. I'm basically creating my own Tyler Perry studio, but definitely focus on more animation.
Wow, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd heard that there was a earthquake over in California today. So in your opinion, would you categorize that as the planet giving like a huge sigh of relief, or everyone in SoCal simultaneously jumping up and down in celebration for today?
Well, I think celebrating in general is a really good thing. So I would like for it to be the celebratory energy of people jumping up and down and making it bounce, and that's a good thing. Even though I don't trust any politicians, I don't like any politicians. They're all full of it. I think it's good that people are celebrating today regardless. So it's good.
All right. So you're best known for your voice work. Was that, or aside from musical theater, was that always your eventual goal, or how did you come to eventually get into that?
Well, I've always loved cartoons. I grew up in Disney World, and I would prank call people a lot growing up. So I started off as a prank caller. I've always just been a jokester, and that's who Beast Boy is. My first role that I got to help create, and Beast Boy is who he is today because 20 years ago I auditioned for him, and they gave me the creative freedom to make him who he is today with them, and it's really special.
It is certainly a fun character.
Yeah.
So aside from the obvious, how does voice acting differ from like screen acting or stage acting?
It's not really different. It's just, instead of the scene being in front of you, like with your eyes, and you could see it and like grab a set piece, it has to be in your third eye. And the more you do a show, the more that world becomes real in your third eye, and you get to experience it almost similarly as this reality. It's pretty psychedelic.
All right. So going off the psychedelic thing, what's the weirdest or strangest thing you've had to do to get your voice to reflect in action, like running around the booth to sound winded or anything like that?
Yeah, this kind of basic stuff, but usually, yeah, I mean, you learn to be able to turn it all on and off pretty quickly after doing it for so long. At a certain point, I think running around in a room would actually, that's fun stuff to play with though. I love the adventurism in acting, and that's actually what I'm all about is adventurism, and adventurism in acting is something I'm focusing a lot on right now. I have a acting group, an improvisational acting group at my treehouse every Wednesday at 8 o'clock, and we just play and explore and adventure. It's pretty rad. So I like to apply that to everything that I'm doing.
So the physicality of acting is just as important in the voice acting as it would be like on a stage or on a screen.
Yeah, acting is acting. If you're crappy, you're crappy. Or if you're great, you're great. And it usually has to do with people that are fearless. The most fearless people are usually the best actors, at least in my opinion. Not necessarily the most socially accepted people, but definitely fearless.
Yeah, I've heard that it's also like an important part of the improv, like what you're running now. Like you just gotta go for it. You can't hold
It's
anything
scary,
else.
and it doesn't get easier. But the more you do it, the more you can really get good at it, like a muscle. But in the beginning, and I mean, it could be years being in the beginning, or like your whole lifetime being in the beginning. It's scary every time.
All right.
It's always worth improving, though.
Okay. So there's a pretty dependable group of voice actors that you're a part of and work with often. Who are your favorite people to work with?
I love Tara Strong. We have a new podcast called The Ship It Show. And we got clips all week dropping on YouTube, and a live show basically every Tuesday. The Ship It Show, where we explore all the different ships, relationships. So it's a show about love and using our imagination to envision all these wild, weird mashup relationships and all the different fandoms. So Tara Strong by far is my best friend. I love her so much, and she's an amazing talent. But the list would be too long for me to go past that. It's like everybody is so sweet in this industry, so talented.
And speaking of you and Tara Strong specifically, you two have played love interests more than a few times in your voice roles. So does her husband approve of you as her work husband?
I never asked.
Well, I think that might be a good time.
No, I feel like do it, ask for forgiveness later. But really, it's just she's a wild, free woman, and anybody that gets to have any time with her in any kind of relationship is blessed.
It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
There's that.
Except let's not take that too far. So occasionally, like a lot of the animated shows score some like pretty high-profile guest actors, like Weird Al or Patrick Warburton or like anybody like Mark Hamill. So are there any voice actors or voice actors that you gotten to work with that left you like starstruck or amazed, or anyone in particular?
Yeah, I'm still starstruck and grateful I got to meet Michael Clark Duncan. He was in their original Teen Titans show. I wish he was still around, because the little bit of time I got to spend with him, I just fell in love with him. He's such an amazing spirit, energy. Wow. But yeah, there's so many great people I've been able to work with. So many guest stars. So many, not just guest stars, but people I got to co-star with, like Seth Green and Sean Astin and Rob Paulson and on and on and on. It's cool.
And also, you yourself, at this point, are a pretty high-profile voice actor. Like, you voiced several iconic characters in your career. So, is there a character that you'd like to voice or play in any capacity if given the opportunity?
Yeah, I want to play Mickey Mouse, but I think I might have to settle for Hippie Mouse, which is cool.
I mean, it wouldn't be the strangest thing you'd see from the House of Mouse.
Yeah, bro, let's get stoned. Just one hit, Minnie.
Down this one hard. Okay, so Okay, so somehow taking it to a little bit more of a serious note, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your ability to work?
Well, it's affected everybody. Everybody around me has been affected, and it's made me work on a lot of my own projects, which is a blessing. Things slowed down in all the industries, but it gave me time to create my own stuff, which I've been creating nonstop.
I certainly have been noticing a lot more independent animation projects recently, so I guess it's probably pretty good for the industry.
And I do that because I love it. Even if I'm not making money, I do it because it just makes me happy making cartoons, man.
All right. So you offer both voice acting classes and also the improv sessions thing that you mentioned before. So how did that come about?
I just do what I want to do, and I change my mind all the time.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah. Listen, I got about 5 more minutes if you want to if there's any more questions.
Yeah, I'll just get to the good parts. So I wanted to ask you about, you have a band, so could you tell the audience a little bit about that?
I've got a few bands. One of them is called Super Space Fighters, which is also a TV show, which I'm about to be launching right here online too, called the Super Space Fighters with Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy. He's in it, and my creative partner, Eric Troop, plays Dr. Graybo in the Super Space Fighters, which is a band and a cartoon and a live-action weird stoner comedy. So that's coming out soon. Remember, I told you I'm making my own Tyler Perry studio, and it's happening. I'm making so much cool stuff. And then I have Cipes and the People, which is like my roots rock reggae band, which I love, and it's me jamming with different people. Basically, I love, and usually very inspired by wanting to create social change, and it starts with inside of you, inside of your heart, but also in society. You have to take action. So my music is all about inspiring action and creativity. But yeah, man, I make a lot of music for cartoons too, so I have infinite outlets to get weird in.
That's awesome. So we got one last question that we've been asking all the guests this season, just a little nice fun one. If you had like a magic wand or a monkey's paw or some sort of mystical artifact or something like a magic item that could allow you to change 2 things about the world, what would you change?
If I could change 2 things in the world?
2 things.
From what gives me this power?
Some sort of magic item. Magic.
Okay. I would want all animals to be free, all humanity to be free, because I'm putting that's one still, because we're all animals. So all humanity, animals, humanity. Okay, animals to be free, or human animals too. And I would love for there to be no more politicians. And I think they kind of go together, so.
All right, well, I won't keep you here too long.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Greg Cipes, everybody. We'll be right back.
That's what's up, yo.
Yeah. Oh, hey. Thank you for rejoining us for the second half of our second season. I'd like to thank Greg Cipes for providing me with the most interesting interview I've done so far. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and as always,
it is what it is.